Hey everybody, how's it going? Um, Hopping on a Instagram live in my dad's little business study here with Dave Asprey, who really made a lot of you know Alitura happen. I mean, it was just an idea before we hopped on that initial podcast in February. If people could share where they're joining in from, that'd be awesome. Let me just see here if we can add Dave. Hope everybody. And yeah, this is really fun for me because I've learned so much from Dave Asprey. Like, I didn't have a business background. I just went on the podcast initially to share my recovery and how I got into Bulletproof coffee and cacao butter, cacao powder, MCT oil, learning about all of that, grass-fed butter, obviously, but supercharging my motivation to recover, get in the gym, go on my walks, just enhance my motivation throughout the day happened through starting to drink coffee. And Dave, obviously, being the creator of Bulletproof Coffee, but so much more than that. There's a big biohacking movement going on now that he seriously was at the forefront of. And he may talk about it too with the Silicon Valley Health Institute that I believe he founded. That was just decades before all of this. I mean, he was really the first, kind of a pioneer. I mean, the father of biohacking is what people call. Hey, how's it going, Erica? Good to see you. But back to Dave, yeah, I mean, the father of biohacking, just kind of giving me a chance because I had a theoretical idea of just removing the impurities, using the skin as part of my detoxing process that I learned from other herbalists and different people that I met with when I was going through my recovery. I just wanted to build myself back. And in that process, I learned so much, um, not only, about skin health, but how to, just cleanse my system from head to toe, build my vitality, and, uh, yeah, just get my zest back. So Dave was instrumental in this process of just me finding myself and my purpose through Alitura, if that makes sense. So this is I can't just say thank you, Dave. I want to just share some memories and things that I've taken from his guidance and his knowledge through the things. I mean, we had so many phone calls and him walking me through so many different decisions to make with Alitura. And without him, I don't think we'd be here. I got told no for, a year and a half, something like that, when sweet people who I would test my products on would recommend, an esthetician or a makeup artist. I'd go over there in person, just test on maybe their family member or a client. And that was part of my fine tuning of the clay mask at the time, and dialing down the kelp powder and recommending certain essential oils, and really getting the formula to where it was, because I had way too much ascorbic acid. Here he is, Dave. Oh yes. Oh man, this is cool. Is he here? Where's he at? Yes.
What's up, Andy?
Hey,
Hey,
how's it going, Dave?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you too. I was just talking about, well, where do I start, man? All right. So, like, sitting across from you on that Skype, I mean, I don't know if you know the whole thing. I even got my mom involved when you were there at the Silicon Valley Health Institute. They just go up to him after he talks and just shake his hand, mention my name, please. And she did. And I think you kind of went, well, yeah, wish him the best of luck. And I think I did a strategic follow up on Twitter. Hey, I think my mom saw you or whatever. And you're just really sweet. She came back, just really, loved the experience, but it was kind of an outside chance of getting in touch with you. And look where this has gone. Seriously, man. I mean, I was writing things down, just all right. Man, our phone calls and just how impactful little things from sales copy. I didn't know what copy was. My directions, full page, single space. You're like, "Andy, that's nice." You just beautifully dialed it down to two sentences.
Oh
And
yeah.
um,
Even the name of Presence, the fragrance and all.
yeah,
It's funny because yeah, I remember I was running that nonprofit in the longevity space, and then yeah, your mom talked to me, and then you reached out, and I was like, oh, this guy's got a cool story. Like, let's do it. And everyone started emailing me, Andy. They're like, that there's Andy was on, and he had this mask. How do I get it? And remember, I'm like, you should sell this. And like, it really started out of your living room. You remember those pictures of you like with a baby tub full of clay and with your shirt off, and you're like, I'm stirring my
Oh
Alitura. Those are
man,
the
yeah.
days. And then,
Those, yeah.
yeah. But do you know, I don't know if I've mentioned it to you. You probably heard it at the biohacking conference in Dallas there, but the Business of Biohacking conference is coming up. You know
No,
about that?
no.
So
Uh-uh.
I'm like, it's been 10 years, I think, right? Hasn't it since
Yes.
Alter? So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I love coaching entrepreneurs. So I realized I built, $140 million a year business, and I started from scratch. And so, I shared some of the knowledge with you, but I put together an event. It's businessofbiohacking.com, and you go there in September in Austin. I'm teaching people, like all the people who helped me, like the way I helped you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing them all together to teach 200 people in the biohacking space like how to build businesses. So if I'd had that for you back, saved a lot of energy, right? So like Jay Abraham and some really really big deals. The person who runs the content for Business Mastery for Tony Robbins, Amanda Humps will be there. So I'm really working. How do I do a better job of helping entrepreneurs? And you're like a glowing case study. Like just the right advice at the right time sometimes changes everything, right?
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, it was every time with you. I mean, it was just we didn't have that much time to talk. But I mean, from things like taking out certain things, picking apart how we write emails and how we do reach out, the strategy involved, all makes. I mean, I carry a lot of a lot of those things with me today. It's like Stu Peterson was very impactful on my baseball career, but like these people come across your life and you look back at like just standing on the shoulders of giants is one way to express it. I mean, you gave me a chance which I couldn't believe. I can't even describe the excitement of just working with you. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And just no, but really though, and just having these, dude, I didn't know my margins. You know what I mean? Remember sitting down, writing, coming up with cost of goods, and then just have a sale, $35 free shipping, $21 to Sweden. No, losing money when you're shipped, but like, and then you have to just bring it in. And obviously, 10 years later, I'm still, learning. But the thing is, I just I just appreciate you saw something. And it was just a clay mask, but the fact that you gave me an opportunity, it's just I'm eternally grateful for that, Dave.
you're really, really welcome, Andy. And I got a favor to ask of you.
Yeah.
Uh, you spent 10 years getting punched in the face as an entrepreneur, which is pretty much what entrepreneurship feels like. Nobody knows this, but when you're the CEO, what comes to you are problems. Like it's constant problems,
Mhm.
and that's a good thing because you're the one who can fix them, right? But it isn't as glamorous as people think. I mean, of course, it has its fun times, but it can be really lonely. It's really stressful.
Mhm.
I mean, I know a lot of really lonely CEOs because they're like,
Mhm.
those people work for me, right? But that means they don't always tell me the truth and all this. And so
Yeah.
it's confusing. So your job, now that you have 10 years of being punched in the face, is when you see someone just getting going, you ought to offer some good advice, right? Like that's how I got here. I mean,
Absolutely.
I worked in Silicon Valley for a long time. I learned from people 20 years older than me how to run bigger businesses. And when I started the biohacking movement, I had people who were 20, 30 years older than me from the health field tell me what to do. It's not like I'm that amazing of I know everything, I invented all from scratch. No, I stood on the shoulders of giants too. That's what, like, all the biohacking knowledge originally came from the longevity world, and the guys who taught me were 75 years old when I was 25.
Mhm.
Like I an entrepreneur. So when someone asks like how'd you get going, just sit down and have coffee with them. Danger.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I promise, to do that. I mean, the thing is, I just have my experience, and I'm not. We can share that. I don't think I'm anywhere near. I have a wild story. I wouldn't call myself an expert or whatever. I love what I do. That's for sure. And I hold true to my morals and things like that. But the attention to detail. You're great. Like obsession is one word, but like non-negotiable. I mean, that just stuck out with me from you, John Baker, if you remember him from the baseball days. That's how I got introduced to Bulletproof. And then, to have a product on the site with you and to get your, to be aligned in that same attention to detail, really like to get signed off from you. I mean, that can propel. So I want to do that same thing for someone else. There's so many, it's interesting at the most recent biohacking conference, you see little reflections of yourself. I don't know if you saw any, it'd be an honor, but like me, a part of me and or you and me or something like that way back in the day. But like, there's this guy, Jack Lividitis from Dallas, and same thing. He came to our booth. He's a customer, but knew the products. It was like he watched the video, showed me some examples. Like well, people like him, and I just, yeah, you just want to pour gas on those embers, and just let them know that they have a chance and that they're special. That encouragement that you gave me. I mean, it just sometimes it's yeah, like you said. I mean, you just getting some positive affirmation or just support from big people helps.
When I was first getting going with what became Bulletproof, it was a blog, and I wanted people to not go through all the suffering, like the health stuff that I went through, all the brain function, weighing 300 pounds, and all that. And so when I decided to turn it into a real business, because people kept wanting stuff, I'm like, oh, well, maybe this is real. I was just lucky. I sat down with my friend JJ Virgin. She runs this thing called Mindshare. It's a mastermind group for like health practitioner people who are building businesses, and but she'd already hit several million in revenue with her her books and her brands, and so she like taught me, here's what to do. You're doing that wrong. Similar to what I did with you. Like that's
Yeah.
not right. And then she tells me, Dave, I spend. I think at the time she's like, I spend $80,000 a year on masterminds, and I almost fell out of my chair. I think at the time I was probably doing like $500,000 a year in revenue. I'm like, what? Like that's an insane. Like, why would you ever do that? And she goes,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to spend time with people who've already been there, and the masterminds like that. That's where you go. So that was what led me to start going to like high level entrepreneur masterminds. I never understood them before that. And so I picked up so much knowledge from friends like Joe Polish, who runs a marketing mastermind. I've been a member of for 10 years. And JJ's Mindshare I've been a member of for 10 years. So I made a point of surrounding myself with entrepreneurs who were either in it where I was, or maybe a little bit not quite as far as I am, but on the same path, or some who are very successful and in or the giving back mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what I was sharing with you is because someone else who already felt the pain was like, hey, Dave, you do it that way. I'm like, oh, that actually works way better than the other way. And then I get to that's why the masterminds are so critical for entrepreneurs, because most entrepreneurs, Andy, if you sit down with one of your baseball friends and you try to explain all the operational details or like a challenge you're having with, your CAC, that like, you have a big CAC. Like, what does that even mean? Like a cost of a customer acquisition if you're not in marketing, right? So there's like a whole different thing. And so you realize that there aren't that many people you can talk to unless you find like your community of entrepreneurs. So that's what's made it for me. That's why I'm doing that business of biohacking.com, that event, because I want to give back to entrepreneurs and introduce them to each other and to the people who helped me so much. So it's like, here's all the resources, and here's the guys you can call in the middle of the night and be like, I don't know what's going on. And they know what's going on. And that's like the secret of being a good entrepreneur, is hanging out with other good entrepreneurs who tell you the stuff you don't know, because none of us knows everything, including me.
Right. No, I agree. I went to CHS. I
Yeah,
have to start
from another
going
one.
back.
Yep. He's going to be speaking at that Business of Biohacking conference. So is JJ, so is Mike.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that's a really good point. I need to start doing more of that. Rubbing elbows and just, yeah, being able to share. Like right now, we have a bot issue on our website, like 4Xing the traffic or whatever. But, during a sale too, which isn't ideal. But so just, decreasing the conversion rate. And so now I'm in a little situation, but, currently, literally, but I have no one to call. So that, had I been in a mind share or something, nobody knows what to do with that. But I'm sure we'll be able to figure it out. But yeah, that's something I definitely want to do is get back into the mind shares. What's something you've been working on right now?
I'm building my next big coffee company, which is Danger Coffee, which is
Nice.
a big thing. By the way, I just tagged, I think everyone I just talked to here, except for about Jay Abraham. I'll put him on here, just so you have that in your notes, everyone who's watching it, if you post this. So these are some of the people that were helping me, and they're all going to be at the business biohacking conference. I'm helping out the people who help me, right? It's just they're
Yeah.
the ones who taught me to teach you. I mean, you should be coming. I hope your September is free in Austin. But the stuff I'm working on now, Danger Coffee, is my new coffee brand. And Upgrade Labs, we've got 28 locations opening and more coming in every day now, which is the world's first biohacking center, biohacking franchise. I've become a master of people copying the stuff that I create, which is
Yeah,
great.
that's true.
Well, it's great because I can start an idea and then like other people can make some mistakes and then I get to make the next move, which is not
Interesting.
a bad thing. And in fact, so one of the things that I did that doesn't help at all with being an entrepreneur, I have an MBA from Wharton, right? Which is, a snooty business school.
Yeah.
And I did it because that was good for my Silicon Valley career. I used to want to be a VC and all that stuff before I really figured out the VC operating system, which isn't as nice as it sounds. But the one thing that I remember that really stands out is they taught me that if you spend $1 to tell people you make good stuff, it's cheaper than spending $1 to make good stuff. And so that's like why we have so much crap in the world. And I was like, this is such bullshit. This is for like big company people. Because the way I'm like, people aren't dumb. If you make really like stuff that's actually better, they're going to talk about it and they're going to tell each other. And then they'll spend a little bit more because your stuff actually works.
Yeah, man.
And so that's why like Upgrade Labs, that's why Danger Coffee, and that's why Alitura. Like if your stuff didn't work, I wouldn't have had you on the show, right? So
Yeah.
it's that mindset. Like I have an obligation as an entrepreneur to do something that is better than anything on the market, or I'm going to do it for people who've never had this before. But the entrepreneurs who copy, they're actually like parasitic. Like that's why we have only junk on Amazon right now. And like
Mhm.
people have tried to copy Alitura, right? They're like, oh, it's just like Alitura, except they use like soybean oil or some crap.
It's just, and I'm glad you touched on that. And I'm really hitting it hard right now because I'm, retroactively finding out more and more about the science of the products and different ingredients, like in a self-preservation method combined with the mirror on glass, who manipulates the light frequency that touches the products, right? And then we use the lactobacillus fermentation that's like, it's safe on the microbiome, but essentially with a fermentation of daikon radish and coconut. But like that, it's not the potassium sorbate, it's not the BHT, phenoxyethanol, but going completely against the grain, all of our ingredients being cold pressed, raw if possible, and organic when possible. Just touching on the pesticide element, even when brands just try to, throw in natural and unorganic plant oils, there's so much in that aside from like the, propane diol, butylene glycol, propylene glycol, but even down to the not unorganic glycerin. Like that's what I loved about you. You went in there, and that's not as clean as it could be. I mean, if people went and reverse engineered, the product, they'd find out how expensive it is. And I remember talking to you early on, and my margins weren't that great. They've gotten better, I guess, but like I felt the same thing as you. It's like you it was all theory, just putting clean ingredients, but going to a level where there are no holes, taking
Mm-hmm.
out the holes. It costs more, but I mean, people will shout from the mountaintops, just like you mentioned. I mean, that's how we've grown purely is just through word of mouth because, $31 for an $87 body lotion. I'm sure you wouldn't, but it was my fourth product. And I just was, Brazilian acai butter and Arobo Prakashi. It's not cheap. Anyway, it was you who gave me confidence because I saw Bulletproof and people leaning towards that perfect ingredient deck. And then you hopping on every day explaining. It just I've never seen you without caught off guard with words, and so you learn that. And then also just through kind of osmosis, I just like developed the same belief in mine. And so I just quality is key. I think I swear it's all theory, but like way back in the day when we only had our offerings, right?
Yeah.
And say if somebody was a garment and somebody had an offering to a community, which ultimately brought them together, it was about quality, right? Like if you didn't undercut, you're trying to bond with other tribes or communities, or I really feel like quality was dealt with, lack of quality or an intentional
Yeah.
lack of quality was dealt with harshly back then. And Does that make sense? I just feel it is so much better when you're pouring your heart out into something that can share authentically, like you did with all the Bulletproof products. And like that's what I saw you doing it, and that's what I'm doing with mine. If you can truthfully back it up, which is just that's just us, you know. It's just all we know is purity of ingredients. So like I could keep going and going and going, but I'm saying like you know put the momentum towards this, and I it's beyond thank you. But I do remember. How important gratitude is to both of us. So like it's just really important to me to share that with you, Dave. You know.
You're so welcome, Andy. It's if I'm sure some entrepreneurs are listening, but I think a lot of people just like the stuff you make. And it's funny, all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. Like there's someone out there who has a bot arm. Like you were saying, you had a problem with bots. When I got on Instagram Live, someone has a bot, probably one of my competitors, that just puts these same comments. They're from it's an AI thing that does that, right? So like there's usually 3 or 4 every time I come online, then we block them. So if you guys want to report those accounts to Instagram, it helps Instagram filter them out. But it's funny. So when you get successful like that, there's always people who feel like envy, right? And they're like, why isn't that me? And it's like, well, it's because you didn't do that. Like you should probably do your own good thing,
Mhm.
right? Uh,
Right.
it's pretty fun.
It that's interesting. I don't know if you feel that like in like when you're around people, but I feel like I can. It's and that's what's led to a little bit of isolation out in Sedona. But yeah, I totally understand. It's part of what we signed up for. But
Yeah,
I've been very impressed with how you deal with it. I mean, I just yeah, your confidence and it's never stopped you. You just go on and build something else and keep going where you're going. It's just that's inspiring to me because in order to grow and stay with your beliefs, you're gonna get some and you gotta have thick skin. That's another thing. It's I know you had, experienced some of that. I definitely have too. But how I react to it though has been, being less reactive. I learned that from you.
you know,
You know.
it's a constant challenge. I mean, anytime anyone feels criticism on social media and all that stuff, whatever, like that's a thing. As you grow up, you figure all that stuff out. See, there we go. So the new account just came in, same exact comments, different name. So it's a bot farm, right?
Yeah,
So
man.
what you
Hey,
learn,
it's just interesting because
yeah,
yeah, the bot came in as soon as I released my email, and I talked to Shopify, and they went, well, there are some cases where competitors will, and I'd never even heard this is the first for us on our 10-year sale, so who knows if it was on purpose or not. I'm doing my best to navigate it. You're looking at it right now. I mean, things aren't the way they were expected, but that's it's just you got to stay resilient
yeah.
and
No one knows the future when you start a business. And Eddie, you're being humble. The number of businesses, like 99% of businesses, fail before they hit $1 million in revenue.
wow.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's pretty shocking. And they also don't last for more than 5 years. So you've done something that's very, very unusual. I mean, it's so hard to do. And and the higher up you get in revenues, then the more you attract like really talented people who see what you're doing, and they see the quality, and they see the track record, and they see your passion, and then they come like, I want to help you. But if you're just like scrappy and getting started out, they're like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a good place to build my career and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
The more of that, the bigger you get, the more a little wobble in your energy field, the more that affects your team, right? And the bigger mistake it makes,
Yeah,
right?
it's, I just, you were there for me in 2022, and being a better leader has been, like riding a bike now because my chemical imbalance isn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, showing up every day, being the same dude with excitement, and also like learning because you're consistent. Your energy's consistent. I don't have to like work things out. I'm not as irritable. I don't have those things in my system anymore. And I really appreciate it. It was you and a few other people that were there for me to get me where I am now. But the thing is, like, it's just interesting that, you know, your team looks at you different when it's not rocket science, but I just, you know, hopefully they feel and see, well, no, that how important it is to me to be the best leader to them and consistent every single day and not react. Like for me, I had an employee that left that came back, and it's so cool seeing him like look at me differently. You know what I mean? I wasn't the best leader, you know, and I had a lot to work on, and having him back, it's like getting a second chance. And then also, really, it's just I don't deal with the same things now, having that out of my life, alcohol, you know. So I just really want to thank you for that too, because you were there regardless. If it was a tough call, you know, you weren't getting off the phone. You heard me out,
It
man. I
was.
appreciate it.
I was worried about you, to be honest, and that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, the number of entrepreneurs who end up with even work addiction, there's sex addiction, there's alcohol. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there, right? And it's because of the loneliness of being at the top, right? And it's challenging. So the reason I'm sharing this stuff is a lot of people like they see you or they see me and they tell themselves a story, and you know. One of my favorite interviews ever was with the founder of NVIDIA. Right, this is a really big, like top 10 company out there, right? This guy, he's got to be like 60 or something. And a reporter said, if you could go back to your 19-year-old self and you could give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be? What do you think he said?
Stay the course.
Don't do it. He said, if I go back and tell my 19-year-old self how much work I've been through, how much suffering, the grind, the effect it's had just on my happiness, because if I go back and do it all again, I wouldn't have done it. And this is one of the most successful entrepreneurs who started a company from scratch that's worth like almost $1 trillion or something, right? So
Wow.
the reason I'm sharing this is the trick, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is the goal is happiness. It isn't a bigger business. It doesn't make you more money. It's you got to learn how to be happy with or without those things. So doing that, it's easier if there's an act of service in there, right? You know, you're
Right.
helping people. You're in bad shape when you came up with the clay mask and half your face got peeled off, right? And so you had a really strong need to do this. And I was similar. I had all the health problems that I had. So I had a strong need to do it. But then now, you're helping other people have these skin problems like teenagers and all. Like you were kind to give my son some Alitura stuff. And so, you're helping him, right? So when you run a business because you're focused on being happy, focused on gratitude, and focused on serving your employees and serving your customers, but genuinely serving them, instead of taking,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
you'd be happy to be an entrepreneur, but it's a lot of practice, man. It's hard work.
It is, and self-correcting all day long if you care. You know what I mean? If you're really going through that, you know, tumultuous transition, which it was. I mean, I'm still growing, but I'm so much better than I was. No, I couldn't agree more. That's yeah, just paying it forward with products, but also showing up in consistency every single day, not only to the team but in customers. Hopefully,
Yeah.
people out there see that and feel that and know that about us. It's different. I live in that happiness. Obviously, it's not. Hopefully, it doesn't come off complacent. Because there's so much, we're getting our products registered in the EU right now. I love UAE, Latin America is synonymous with Alitura, I believe. And our ingredients allow us to. We don't have to adjust all these things. I can only imagine what some of these brands in the United States have to deal with, because it is kind of strict to get in there. I'm like, dude, because we just have to switch around olive oil to the Latin. I mean, it's not only that, it's a lot, but different labels. But thankfully, the ingredients are fine. So that's it's just a big mission that I have that that you helped launch with treating your skin as if it were another mouth. I never really looked at it like that, but hearing from you, I'm like, I'll take that and run with it, and that's kind of how, alitura being Latin for feeding and nourishing, and just, it makes sense. It's something that obviously it has to be edible, but a body lotion is, so you put it in there and you explain, you see the eyebrows raise, and people across from you. It's just something unique and new. But I'm telling you, I just really believe that time-tested remedies, shorter shelf life, not heavily preserved, all these synthetic lab-made chemicals loaded in 90% of the ingredients, and then litter in a couple non-organic cheap plant oils. Like that's not art. It's not art at all. I don't think. I just uh, yeah, quality is what we want, and you really helped that early on, and kind of because when we're doing things on our own, we don't really have anything. That's why I was a little overly wordy explaining the clay mask when we first talked. But it's just, yeah, it's for the love. It's the quality. You see excitement of pointing out how you were even able to get in touch with people like Jason Eaton at a greenclays.net or whatever. And then he became like my little clay mentor. I mean, that's the truth of the story. But it's almost kind of embarrassing. Like, how'd you even get in touch? Well, it's just these long, winded stories that are true, but you kind of like, you had a little bit of that. I wouldn't call you a geek, but like, you kind of, you love sourcing your stuff too. And it made me feel comfortable explaining what I saw, and just what resonated with me. And then it turns out that we're able to share that with, thousands of people worldwide. And a lot of people agree, you know what I mean? It's just, it was all, what do I know? I don't have that chemistry degree, but I have what I believe to be true. Just we want pure, organic, clean ingredients and explain the medicine and the dynamic components of things like cacao butter, beeswax, antifungal, antimicrobial, antibacterial. It's just, yeah, it's just kind of, even though you're not an expert, did go to school for it, you can still
Yeah.
have talent,
You know, yeah, you just have to be curious and put the time in.
Yeah.
Speaking of time,
Yeah.
I got an advisory call with one of the companies I'm advising.
Yeah.
So Andy, hopefully you're coming to the Business of Biohacking conference. And for people, if you're an entrepreneur, you're listening, I want to teach you how to be a biohacking entrepreneur to grow this industry. We're a $63 billion industry that started back in 2011 with a blog post. And it's crazy that that's what's going on. So businessofbiohacking.com. And if you haven't tried Andy's products at Alitura, you probably should because they actually work. I'll see you soon.
Hey, thank you, Dave. Thank you so much.